I welcome you to the video on rail projects in India. And as a part of this video, we will talk about three important rail projects. One is dedicated freight corridor. The other one is Vande Bharat train. And third is Chenab Bridge. I am Professor Jitesh Thakkar, Dean Academics and Professor Logistics and Supply Chain Management at Gati Shakti Vishwavidyalaya. GSV is India's first and only university in transportation and logistics sector. I was a professor at IIT Kharagpur and now contributing as a professor logistics and supply chain management and dean academics at Gati Shakti Vishwavidyalaya. Let us move forward in our discussion, but before that you can check some of the content at the YouTube channel Professor Dr. Jitesh Thakkar in the domain of transportation, logistics, supply chain, infrastructure projects. And on the right side, you can also see the research and the textbooks published by me. Gati Shakti Vishwavidyalaya is sponsored by Ministry of Railways, and it has a mandate to contribute in all the modes of transport, including rail, road, water, ports, aviation, shipping, and with a focus on all three dimensions: technology, infrastructure, management, that is services, policy, and regulations. University has registered its footprint on the global landscape of transportation and logistics by entering into these strategic collaborations at national and international level with prestigious organizations such as St. Petersburg State Transport University, Russia, Monash University, Australia, JTTRI, Lucchini RS SPA, Italy, Indian Defence Forces, Army, Air Force, Navy, Airbus, Jacobs, Nokia, Plaza India, L&T, Nippon Koi, and many others. University operates with a very, very unique and 21st century relevant vision, innovation-led, industry-driven university. Let us get into the topic of railway infrastructure projects. And typically, as I mentioned, we will discuss three important infrastructure projects: dedicated freight corridor, the features, outstanding technicalities, the challenges faced in the creation of these infrastructures, and so on. So first is dedicated freight corridor, second is Vande Bharat train, and third is Chenab Bridge. So Indian Railway, if we just look at the broader perspective, it is world's fourth largest railway network by size, with a route length of approximately 69,181 kilometers and total track length exceeding 135,207 kilometers. It is the largest rail network in Asia under single management, operating 99.1% electrified broad gauge tracks. If you look at the Indian Railways in totality, then it has a glorious history of 160 years. It started in 1853. It's a perfect example of both traditional and modern systems. It is the exemplary case of a resilient organization, because even during COVID or many other situations, it has performed extraordinarily well. It has survived, progressed, and served unstoppable since last 160 years. It offers a lot of research opportunities to the researchers across the globe in engineering, technology, and policy planning. It is a lifeline of billions of people of India. If we look at the holistic picture, then why railway is so important, and it has a strategic perspective, when we talk about the different modes of transport. If we look at the cost rupees to carry 1 ton for 1 kilometer vis-a-vis the emission gram carbon dioxide CO2 on carrying 1 ton for 1 kilometer, then the ships or maritime sector, it is 0.55 rupees to carry 1 ton per kilometer. It has an emission of 11 grams CO2 for 1 ton for 1 kilometer. If we look at the railways, it is 1.6 in cost rupees to carry 1 ton for 1 kilometer, and emission is 11.5 gram of CO2. So this is the ships and rail, they offer unique advantage in terms of transport cost as well as its impact on the environment in terms of carbon footprint. Whereas if we look at the road transport, then the cost is 3.6 and emission is 10 times higher. It is 101 gram CO2 on carrying 1 ton for 1 kilometer. Aviation, the cost is significantly high, 18 rupees for 1 ton, 1 kilometer, and CO2 emission is significantly high, 625 grams CO2 on carrying 1 ton for 1 kilometer. If you look at the rail share and the logistics cost across some country, then USA, it is 32% rail share. Australia, 56%. Canada, it is 45%. And India, it is 27%. So there is a significant scope to improve our rail share and benefit our logistics sector, both in terms of cost as well as the carbon footprint. So railway is most cost efficient and clean mode of transport. Global logistics cost efficient countries have increasingly relied on high rail share for efficient transportation of the freight. If we broadly look at the Indian Railways, then it has a network, as I mentioned, which is significantly large, and it is handling more than 7,000 stations. It is having 67,000 kilometers of route length. Indian Railways is one of the largest employers in the world with over 1.4 million employees. Passengers, Indian Railway carries over 23 million passengers every day, which is equivalent to the population of Australia. In a year, it carries more than 8 billion passengers, which is more than the population of the entire world. Freight. Indian Railways carries more than 4.4 million tons of freight every day. Revenue. Indian Railway achieved a record total revenue of approximately 2.65 lakh crore in 2024-25 fiscal year, driven by strong growth in freight and passenger segment. Key financial highlights included passenger earnings of roughly 75,239 crore and freight revenue crossing 1.71 lakh crore with an operating ratio of 98.32%. Technology, Indian Railway has introduced several technology, let it be sensors. It is GPS-based train tracking, online reservation, bio-toilet in the train. So the Indian Railway is on the path of modernizing its various assets, let it be locomotives, tracks, wagons, coaches, electrification, and all other infrastructure, including stations, terminals. And this is where the Indian Railway is setting the global footprint in the railway segment. Indian Railway is strongly supported by various organizations, PSUs like Dedicated Freight Corridor Corporations, Indian Railways Catering and Tourism Corporations, Konkan Railway, Indian Railway Finance Corporation, Mumbai Rail Vikas Corporation, Rail Trail Rights, IRCON, Rail Vikas Nigam Limited (RVNL), Container Corporation of India, Rail Land Development Authority to strengthen the functions, operations in the passengers as well as freights of Indian Railway. If we look at the various initiatives taken by Indian Railways towards modernization and making it a state-of-the-art example across the globe include private investment in railway infrastructure projects, Vande Bharat Train 18, green initiatives, solar energy adoption in railways, dedicated freight corridor for the efficient freight transport, adoption of bio-toilets, development of advanced signaling system, Kavach, which is the automatic train protection system, improving safety through indigenous innovations, advanced signaling system, zero-based timetabling for increasing efficiency, and skill development for the local communities that are some of the CSR initiatives and collaborations with different industries. Gati Shakti Vishwavidyalaya is playing a key role in enabling, supporting these initiatives by extending the necessary teaching, training, and research support to Indian Railways. This will provide the overview of the infrastructural assets of Indian Railways. Route length is about 68,812 kilometers and track length is 1,09,000 kilometers. Stations, 7,308 stations are managed by Indian Railways. Passenger trains, 10,540 per day. Freight trains, 9,164 per day. Locomotives, 14,819. Coaches, about 85,000. Wagons, 350,000. And cargo, 1.5 billion ton per annum. So this slide gives a very, very clear picture of the mammoth of tasks handled by Indian Railways, the infrastructural competencies, and the scale and scope of the operations. The National Master Plan, Rail Plan, is one of the key enablers which has provided a boost to modernization of Indian Railways. So, this National Rail Plan aims to create a future-ready railway system. The objective of the plan is to create capacity ahead of the demand and in turn would also cater to future growth in demand. The key objectives are formulate strategies based on both operational capacities and commercial policy initiatives to increase the modal share, maybe from present 27%, we can go to 40% of railways in the freight and typically reduce transit time of freight substantially by increasing average speed of the freight trains to 50 km per hour. There are various objectives of the National Rail Plan, identifying new dedicated freight corridors, new high-speed rail corridors, assessing rolling stock requirement for the passenger traffic as well as wagon requirement for the freight, assessing locomotive requirements to meet twin objectives of 100% electrification, green energy, and increasing freight modal share. Assessing the total investment in capital that would be required along with a periodical breakup and sustained involvement of the private sector in executing mega infrastructure projects. Now, let us go deeper into the topic of this particular video, and that is to discuss about some of the most critical rail infrastructure projects in India, and that includes dedicated freight corridor, Vande Bharat train, and Chenab Bridge. So if you look at the last decade, It was a transformative era for Indian Railways characterized by massive push towards modernization, capacity expansion, and indigenous technological development. Let it be Vande Bharat, let it be Kavach, bio toilets, wagons, coaches, tracks. The focus has shifted from merely adding track length to upgrading the speed, safety, and efficiency of the entire network. Let's look at the first and very, very important project which provides an ease to the rail freight traffic and avoid the conflict between passenger traffic and the freight traffic and boost the efficiency of the supply chain in India, and that is dedicated freight corridor. So dedicated freight corridor is basically divided into Eastern DFC and Western DFC, Western Dedicated Freight Corridor. Western Dedicated Freight Corridor connects, it is starting from Dadri in Uttar Pradesh. The ending place is in the south. You can see it on the graph also. Jawaharlal Nehru Port Terminal, JNPT in Mumbai. The length is approximately 1500 kilometers. It covers the states like Uttar Pradesh, Haryana, Rajasthan, Gujarat, and Maharashtra. And the key feature is designed to facilitate double stack container trains. If you look at the Eastern Freight Corridor, EDFC, then it has a starting place in northwest, that is Sanewal near Ludhiana in Punjab, ending place Dankuni in West Bengal. Length is about 1839 kilometer, and key states covered include Punjab, Haryana, Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, Jharkhand, and West Bengal. Key features: the corridor passes through Sonanagar and is designed for heavy coal and freight movement. It would really be interesting to appreciate the features through video. On the left side, I have put the line length for the Eastern as well as Western Dedicated Freight Corridor. Eastern, it is about 1800, Western is 1500. Track gauge for the Eastern is 5 feet 6 inch. Same is applicable for the Western. Broad gauge and electrification technical features is 25 kV, 50 hertz, AC overhead catenary. Now let us see and watch a video that will provide a very good insight into this strategic asset infrastructure of Indian Railways, that is dedicated freight corridor.
Indian Railways is exploring 3 new freight corridors to extend the high-speed cargo network deeper into the southern, eastern and central India. The Indian Railways, building on the success of 2 operational lines to create a continuous nationwide logistics loop, 2 people aware of the development told Mint. Detailed project reports for the 3 new lines have been completed and are under examination. Together, the new dedicated freight corridors are estimated to cost around 1.5 trillion rupees. The dedicated freight corridors include 1115 kilometers East Coast Corridor, 1673 kilometers East-West Corridor, and 975 kilometers North-South Sub-Corridor. At least one corridor will be selected first based on technical feasibility, traffic potential, and funding availability. As per sources who spoke to Mint, the proposal may be included in the upcoming union budget with token allocations for FY27. The new corridors will complement the existing 1337-kilometer Eastern and 1506-kilometer Western DFCs. About 1404 kilometers of the Western corridor is operational, while the remaining 102 kilometers from Vetarna to Jawaharlal Nehru Port Trust is scheduled to be commissioned soon. The existing corridors have boosted freight speeds and eased congestion on passenger routes. According to the Ministry of Railways, the national transporter's share in total freight movement dropped from over 60% in the 90s to about 25% in 2020. But post-COVID, aided by the dedicated corridors, this has gone up to 27%, and the National Rail Plan targets to hit 45% by 2030. The East Coast Corridor, which contributes the highest freight loading for railways, is likely to be prioritized as it will support port evacuation in the eastern region and provide a dedicated route for mineral movement from Odisha and Chhattisgarh. The railways aims to complete the stretch expected to cost 40 to 50,000 crore rupees within 5 to 7 years of commencement of the project.
So having seen this video, let us appreciate the dedicated freight corridor, some of the key features I mentioned already, and some of the technical features and the time cost trade-off. So the scope is to cover 2,800 kilometers of electrified double track railway lines. Project technical feature is capable of running heavy haul trains at 100 kilometers per hour, features heavier rails, 2 by 25 kV AC traction, automated signaling, and allows for double standing container trains on Western Dedicated Freight Corridor. If we look at the time cost trade-off for this project, then this project required a massive upfront capital investment over rupees 1 lakh crore and faced long gestation period. However, this high initial cost is traded for massive long-term savings in logistics cost and a drastic reduction in the freight transit times. Couple of challenges faced as a part of the mega project: widespread land acquisition across multiple states, complex utility shifting, and securing environmental clearances. If you look at the future impact on industry sectors and Indian ecosystem of dedicated freight corridor, then it is creating the synergy and giving the magnifying impact to our industry sectors and industry ecosystem. Energy sector, if you look at, which is coal centric or coal criticality, is one of the important dimensions. EDFC has revolutionized the coal evacuation from the eastern mines of Jharkhand, Odisha to thermal plant in north, that is Punjab, Haryana, Delhi. Impact is transit time for coal rakes have been halved from 35 hours to about 20 hours. An outcome is the number of power plant with critical coal stocks has dropped by over 60% compared to 2023-24, ensuring grid stability during peak summer months. Second sector is manufacturing industrial corridors, the plug and play model. DFC acts as a backbone for 11 industrial corridors like Delhi, Mumbai industrial corridors and others. And the impact is high speed up to 100 km per hour and heavy haul 20-ton axle load capabilities allowed for just-in-time manufacturing. Outcome is auto majors and heavy engineering firms now use the DFC to move parts and finished goods with predictable schedules, reducing inventory cost by almost 15 to 20%, which is a significant achievement when we talk about the logistics and supply chain efficiency. Agriculture and dairy sector is immensely benefited. The trucks on train TOT revolution. So TOT offers loaded trucks are driven onto flat wagons for long haul transit, and the impact is perishable like milk from Amul from Gujarat, onions from Nashik reach northern markets without highway congestion or toll cost. Outcome is no GST on milk tankers and a 30% reduction in diesel consumption for transporter. This stabilizes food prices and reduces spoilages in the first to last mile chain. The fourth important dimension where DFC has created a significant impact is EXIM trade port hinterland connectivity. WFC, Western Dedicated Freight Corridor, connects industrial hinterland of North India directly to the ports like JNPT Mumbai, Mundra and Kandla. An impact is its ability to run double stack container trains effectively doubles the capacity for train. The outcome is port turnaround time has been significantly improved Indian exporters have become more price competitive globally due to lower inland haulage cost. The fifth is obviously the environmental and social impact, that is decarbonization. DFC is fully electrified and it serves as a major pillar of India's net zero 2030 rail goal. Impact is shifting 70% of freight traffic from road to rail is projected to save 450 million tons of CO2 every 30 years. So there is a huge socio-economic advantage in terms of environmental production and the higher punctuality in terms of delivery of the freights, introduction of more Vande Bharat and Amrit Bharat passenger services. So I'm just presenting the broad comparison before DFC and after DFC. Before DFC, it was mixed line. Average freight speed was about 25 km per hour. Now, with the dedicated freight corridor, it has gone to 70 to 100 km per hour. Maximum track length, train length is 700 meter. Here it is 1500 meter. Long haul container capacity is single track. Here it is double stack on WDFC. And logistics cost 13 to 40% of the GDP. We are expecting, or the target is to reduce less than 10% of GDP with dedicated freight corridor. Let's look at another important modernization, infrastructural advancement by Indian Railway, and that is Vande Bharat Express Train 18. Let us look at some of the key features and we will subsequently watch an interesting video to appreciate the outstanding features of Vande Bharat Express Train 18. Rolling stock Vande Bharat train set, track gauge, 1676 mm, 5 feet 6 inch broad gauge, electrification 25 kV, 50 Hz AC via overhead lines. Operating speed 160 km per hour, maximum and 83 km per hour. Average length is 192 meter, 8 coaches, 384 meter, 16 coaches, and 480 meter, 20 coaches it can go up to, and track owner is Indian Railway. Let us watch an interesting video and appreciate the key features of Vande Bharat.
A train could not run without an engine. All train has an engine, but the Vande Bharat Express train can run without an engine. This is the country's first engineless train. Today, in this video, we will explain the working function of this train. The Vande Bharat train is powered by a self-propulsion module. That means, it consists of the electric multiple units, or AMU, that work as self-drive coaches. For example, hope you have seen this kind of local train, all are AMU coaches. Here, the traction motors are fitted with these bogies, thus, the train does not require any separate locomotive. There are 4 cars in each unit, and among them, 2 are motor coaches. Total, 8 MC coaches out of 16 coaches. The motor coach is fitted with 3-phase traction motor, so the power is needed for the traction motor to propulsion. The electricity comes from the OHE by the pantograph. The pantograph is mounted on the roof of the trailer coach, TC. It collects the electricity from overhead OHE and sends it to the traction transformer. The transformer is an electrotechnical element of the whole traction system, which is in charge to propel the train. Each motor coach consists of 2 lines and traction converter units, or LTC. These are mounted undersling, one for each bogie. Each LTC cubicle consists of 1 line converter and 1 traction inverter. Line converter input is connected to the single-phase AC of the traction transformer. The output of the line converter is connected to DC link capacitors. This DC link is connected to the traction converter, and it converts this DC voltage into AC voltage of variable voltage and variable frequency, VVVF, and these three-phase outputs shall be connected to two traction motors. Here, traction motor is suspended with a bogie frame, and the gear is mounted with axle. The motor shaft and traction gearbox input shaft are connected by a coupling that transfers torque, and finally wheels rotate. There is an auxiliary converter unit is provided, undersling in each TC coach of a basic unit, which is supply all power requirements in that basic unit. Three-phase 415 volts loads, 110 volts DC, to provide supply to various loads. Next, a 20 kVA isolation transformer is provided in each coach to convert 415 volts AC supply to 230 volts AC and 110 volts AC. 230 volts AC supply is used for pantry-related loads and toilet-related loads like a shaver and hand dryer. 110 volts AC supply is used for laptops and mobile charging for passengers. Hope you have learned the concept of the Vande Bharat train propulsion system. And if you think this video is helpful,
Let's look at the key features. We have also appreciated it through video. The scope of Vande Bharat is indigenous design, manufacturing, and network-wide deployment of semi-high-speed, self-propelled passenger train sets, and this replaces the legacy locomotive-hauled trains like Shatabdi and others. The project technical features: distributed traction power system, aerodynamic front cabin. You have seen in the picture, regenerative braking, saving 30% electric energy, modern passenger amenities, and the top operational speed capability, that is 160 km per hour. The time cost trade-off involved in this project was the train sets have a higher manufacturing cost compared to the traditional coaches. Their rapid acceleration and deceleration significantly reduce overall journey times without astronomical cost of building entirely new high-speed tracks. So that is the advantage. Some of the challenges faced while executing this project: so initial supply chain bottleneck for indigenous components, upgrading existing track infrastructure to handle the speed of 160 km per hour, and managing the cattle runover incidents. So there are many synergistic effect and the impact on the future of industry sectors and Indian economy because of the Vande Bharat train introduced by Government of India. If you look at the macroeconomic impact, then it has the impact on accelerating the GDP growth. So travel time between key economic hub is reduced by 45% on some of the routes, and Vande Bharat accelerates business cycles, increases labor mobility. Massive employment generation. So there is a vast workforce. They want to have mobility, everyday mobility, faster mobility, and direct jobs it provides in engineering, assembly, and railway operations. Bridging and regional divide. So by connecting tier 2 and tier 3 cities with metropolitan hubs, the train network decentralizes economic activity, and Vande Bharat sleeper routes like the Howrah-Guwahati corridor integrates the eastern and northeastern more tightly into the national economy, promoting inclusive growth. There are sustainable economic practices because featuring regenerative braking that saves the energy and aerodynamic design reduces the power consumption that contributes towards our India's net zero goal of 2030. There are some future impacts possible on the key industry sectors. One is manufacturing and heavy engineering. So Vande Bharat is the cornerstone for Make in India. Nearly 90% is the localization in manufacturing, and it has galvanized a massive domestic supply chain. Ancillary industries, manufacturers of specialty steel, precision mechanical parts, HVAC systems, and ergonomic seating are seen as massive surge in long-term order books. And there is a huge export potential. So future iterations, specifically upcoming Vande Bharat 4.0, will have the design with international benchmarks, and this will position India very critically in the export market, exporter of world-class, cost-effective, semi-high-speed rolling stock. Tourism and hospitality will significantly get boosted, like Delhi, Varanasi, and the upcoming Char Dham rail links, and Vande Bharat is a booster for this regional and cultural tourism and connectivity. Similarly, there is an hospitality boom. So reduction in travel time turns long journeys into the manageable weekend trips, and this is driving a surge in demand for budget hotels, premium hospitality, and localized food and beverage services like IRCTC's regional cuisine initiatives in destination cities. The third sector which gets affected or receives the positive impact because of Vande Bharat is real estate and infrastructure. So it is a transit-oriented development. So the area immediately surrounding upgraded railway stations are becoming prime real estates. And there would be sharp rise in the commercial complexes, retail spaces, modernized transit hubs, and so on, and peripheral city boom. So as commuting between major IT industrial hubs and neighboring city becomes comfortable, the distance, it is a short journey, comfortable ride, then residential and commercial property value in the tier 2 cities will also significantly get appreciated. The fourth is technology and digital services. So if you look at the modernization of the rolling stock, then safety and avionics is one of the important feature. So integration of advanced indigenous safety systems like Kavach 5.0 is driving heavy investment, innovation in railway signaling, anti-collision technology, and telecommunication. Digital ecosystem like Wi-Fi, digital ticketing, onboard Wi-Fi, high-speed data connectivity, all this adds to the tech-oriented services and enhances the value of Vande Bharat service. Let us look at the third most critical and fascinating infrastructure project of Indian Railway, and this is Chenab Rail Bridge, USBRL project. It is world's highest railway bridge. Life of a bridge is about 120 years. 29,880 tons of steel is used. It is designed to withstand wind speed of 266 km per hour. If you look at the length of the bridge, then it is 1.3 kilometer. One pylon of cable is at 127 meter higher than even Qutub Minar, which is 72 meter. Single arc span 467 meter, and bridge deck height above riverbed is 359 meter. So it is really an engineering marvel created by Indian Railways. So a couple of features I already highlighted, like deck arc bridge, steel and concrete material is used. Total length is 1,315 meter. It is 4,314 feet. Width is 13.5 meter. Height is 359 meter. Longest span 467 meter, and number of spans 17. Let us watch a video to appreciate the details and engineering features of Chenab Bridge in detail.
Taller than the Eiffel Tower, the Chenab Railway Bridge in India is the world's highest railway crossing. It stands a staggering 359 meters above the riverbed. A true engineering marvel. Built with over 28,000 tons of steel, this arch is designed to last over a century. It's built to withstand 266 kilometers per hour winds and even major earthquakes. Connecting the Kashmir Valley to the rest of India, it's a vital strategic link. The Chenab Bridge, a Himalayan icon of modern engineering.
Let us go further and appreciate some of the key features of this infrastructure project, that is Chenab Rail Bridge, USBRL project. So as I explained, it is 359 meters, highest railway bridge in the world, and it features a massive steel arc design, and it can withstand 266 km per hour high velocity winds. The time cost trade-off, yes, it was quite a complex and difficult project because the extreme Himalayan terrain caused significant cost and time overrun, and the trade-off was accepting these massive delays and expenses to achieve the irreplaceable strategic and socio-economic value of an all-weather rail link to Kashmir. Some challenges were faced because of extreme weather conditions, deep gorges, lack of approach roads requiring ropeway for material transport, and highly complex Himalayan geology. If you look at the impact on industry sectors and Indian economy, then there are many and multifold impact of this Chenab Bridge, and it is certainly a high impact project. If you look at the macroeconomic impact on Indian economy, number one, it will provide uninterrupted supply chain and price stability. So region's economy was highly vulnerable to the frequent closures of Jammu-Srinagar National Highway due to landslides and snow, and the all-weather rail links eliminates these bottlenecks, reducing freight transport cost by almost 70% and stabilizing the prices of essential commodities in the valley year-round. The second important impact is massive regional upliftment. USBRL Chenab Bridge project generated over 5 crore man days of employment during its construction, and beyond direct railway jobs, the creation of over 215 kilometers of approach roads has integrated over 70 remote Himalayan villages such as Dugga, Khari, Sawalkot into the mainstream of economy, fostering local entrepreneurship and microeconomics. Third is strategic and defense economics. So by enabling rapid, high volume and year-round deployment of troops, heavy artillery, defense logistics, this bridge, Chenab Bridge, drastically reduces the military's reliance on expensive winter airlifts and vulnerable road convoys, optimizing the national defense budget. Accelerating state GSDP, gross state domestic product. So the market access is improved and removal of psychological and physical barriers to trade. Jammu Kashmir's GSDP is projected to accelerate, and this really adds value in terms of economic development of Jammu and Kashmir region. There are possible future impact on key industry sectors. Number one, agriculture and horticulture. So the apple economy will significantly be boosted, and massive producers of walnut, apple, saffron, other perishable high-value crops will significantly be benefited. So that it will improve the national market access and allow the farmers to bypass road delays and middlemen and drastically reduce the post-harvest spoilage and expands their reach to the lucrative markets. Second is certainly tourism and hospitality. Visiting Kashmir is always a fascination for the tourists, and the tourism sector is experiencing paradigm shift from a seasonal boom to year-round economy. So the pilgrim tourist corridor with Vande Bharat trains cutting travel time between Katra and Srinagar to just about 3 hours, the millions of pilgrims visiting Vaishno Devi shrine can easily extend their trips into Kashmir Valley. There are significant impacts on logistics and freight. So there would be shift from road to rail for the faster, safer and reliable transport. And also real estate and infrastructure will really get a boom or a very positive synergistic effect because of the area surrounding newly upgraded railway stations along 272-kilometer USBRL Chenab Bridge are experiencing a localized real estate boom. So there are multi-fold advantages of this Chenab Bridge project. Heavy engineering and construction is one of the added advantage, and it has served as a massive credential for India's domestic engineering sector. If we just look at broadly these three projects which we discussed as a part of this video, dedicated freight corridor, the primary goal is to freight transport, freight infrastructure. Core objective is to decongest passenger lines by creating indicated heavy haul freight routes. Key milestones: Eastern DFC largely operational, Western DFC is nearly about completion. Vande Bharat rolling stock, modernized passenger travel with indigenous semi-high speed 160 km per hour transit and deployed across the country with dozens of active routes. And the last one which we discussed is Chenab Rail Bridge US BRL. Strategic connectivity connects Kashmir Valley to mainland railway network via an all-weather route, and it is the world's highest railway bridge completed. Final line linkage is under. So if I just summarize this video, it is not just the expansion of Indian railways through critical projects, but there is a significant shift in the mindset, and it is about upgradation and efficiency enhancement. The railways have aggressively focused on indigenous manufacturing, Make in India, slashing transit times and drastically reducing their carbon footprint. Some challenges faced in these railway projects, like dedicated freight corridor, certainly the land acquisition and utility shifting, power lines, roads, water pipelines. Vande Bharat, indigenous infrastructure development and upgradation took some reasonable time. Cattle runovers and Chenab Bridge, USBRL, hostile terrain, transporting massive steel girders and heavy machinery across deep gorges, specifically using designed aerial ropeways and others, and Himalayan geology. So engineering deep foundation in highly fractured and unpredictable rock formation was a challenge. So thank you very much for your interest in learning about very critical three infrastructure projects executed by Indian Railways: dedicated freight corridor, Vande Bharat and Chenab Bridge. We will continue discussing more transport related infrastructure projects executed by Indian Railways and also in the domains of maritime, ports and shipping, aviation, and roads.